This aircraft needs to taxi. You hit the start taxiing button. The difference is most of the aircraft taxi to runway 5 or 34R, or they land and then taxi by heading south. This one has to go north. When you do taxiing in the opposite direction, you want to pay very special attention to make sure that the route is not going to go within the path of another aircraft that's already taxiing. The blue labels mean that the aircraft is on the ground and it's only going to be doing a transfer to another terminal on the ground. The yellow labels means that the aircraft is arriving, and the green labels mean that the aircraft will be departing. Whenever I prepare for takeoff, you've got this plane right over here, I always check to see what it's like in the air before I give takeoff clearance so that I don't have any problems. And of course, you want to do the same thing when you do landing clearance, because there could be a lot of planes and one of them might not be able to land. This one's going to be fine. When you do a pushback, the plane is over here in light blue and he's got to go to the flashing area. There could be other planes coming down. He's going in the opposite direction. So you want to make sure there's nobody in the immediate area. And you want to click the dot so that he's going to reverse into here and start driving this way up to where the flashing blue is. And also I'm going to go on the blue line just in case any other planes come down. You want to prioritize everything on the right that's in the air. Usually they're very easy to resolve. Just got to click a button. And the ones on the left I usually give a lower priority to, because they usually take a little bit more work and a little bit more thought and planning. This aircraft needs to go to the runway, but there's another aircraft that could potentially be in the way. So I'm going to postpone that, which is going to give him a little bit more time to clear. I'll do him last. But I can push this one back right now. He's not going to be in the way. By the time he's ready to go, the aircraft that's being towed will probably be out of the way. On the ground map, I usually change the zoom setting so that it fits perfectly, so I can see absolutely everything. And on the sky map, I usually zoom it all the way out. This aircraft needs to taxi. However, there's other aircraft that are going to be coming south. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this one on the outside here, which reduces the chance that he's going to have a collision. If you click on an aircraft, for example, we have this one red 585, you can hear the announcements that are inside the plane where they say things like, we're now departing, fasten your seatbelts, etc. When a plane lands, my advice is to always use the fastest exit. The reason why I lost a game once, because I did the far exit and the other plane behind him was not able to land, because it was already an aircraft on the runway. There's a chance that this aircraft could have a collision with this one. So I'm going to hold this position. You see the other aircraft over here has to pass over, and I'm going to let him pass. Some of the options over here, like approach clearance, etc., some of them look like they're not important, like ACC handoff. If you don't do it, your risk will increase, so you want to make sure you pay attention to those and take care of them. Here we have a situation with where a plane is turning in and another one is next to it. And they're going to be fine because they're on different runways, but you do want to be careful that they don't have a dangerous situation. Over here, I have an aircraft that I need to taxi, but there's another aircraft on the runway, so I'm going to use an alternate route so that they don't have a head-on collision. This airplane, the WHA, he could potentially hit the GH-105, so I have to pay attention to what each of their routes are to make sure that they don't hit each other. You see how they cross over. So I'm going to keep an eye on it, and I'm going to make sure I hold one of them back. In this case, I've got these two aircraft that have to cross over. I'm going to hold the one that is repositioning so that the one that is taking off has more time to get to where he has to go. The one that's merely going to a different terminal doesn't matter so much if he's late. I occasionally check over here to see what's going on in the air. You see how this one's to the right of the blue line? That means he's landing on a different runway, but I check to see how many planes are coming in. This aircraft is coming in on runway 5, but we've also got another plane that's in the process of landing over here. So what I'm going to do is line up and wait. And then when he gets there, I'll check to see if he can take off. This aircraft over here is ready to take off. However, there's an aircraft which is right here, the Blue 102, who's about to land. So what I have to do is I have to wait for that one to land. We're going to see him on the map over here. Over here you can see a situation where one plane is waiting for the other plane in front of it. So here's the aircraft that's landing, and once he lands, I'll be able to have that other aircraft take off. This one has to wait. Here's an example where this aircraft needs to push back, but we have another one that's arriving, so I need to wait a little bit. The ones that say GND are obviously on the ground. The ones that say tower means that they are either taking off or landing. The DEP means departing flights, and the APP means approaching flights. I think that DEL might mean delay, but I'm not sure. You want to be careful when crossing a runway. You see we got a plane landing over here. I had a situation where a plane landed, and then I crossed the runway, and there was another plane behind him, and he made it across, but it said it was a high-risk situation, and it really doesn't make sense why. Obviously, it was probably a big aircraft and a short time before the next plane landed, but be careful and do it as quickly as possible. Over here you can see purple 8112 is on 34 left, which is over here. So the one over here that's on here, he has takeoff clearance because there's no one else coming in who's nearby. Actually, it would be red 234 that would land on this runway. So before they take off, you want to make sure no one's about to land on that runway. Here I have two aircraft, Blue 541 and WHA 103. For Blue 541, he can get takeoff clearance, and WHA, you're going to want him to line up on and wait, but if you do it, it will end the game. So you have to hold short of runway, because if this guy has to take off before you can line him up on the runway. It's not, obviously it's not something that you expect about the game, but I lost the game once because of that. I'm going to go through the interface real quick to explain what everything is. You got the current time, the end of the game time, how many aircraft I believe have landed and have made it to the terminal, the risk, which is a cumulative number since the game started. It's not like a current risk value. So if something happens, the number goes up. Your score, every time you click on something you're supposed to click on, your score goes up. Over here, you have the wind direction and the speed. This window, you can move it around. You see how it has the little dish. We'll get to that later. This obviously changes the size of the map. This switches between the ground map and the sky map. The green are the departing flights. The yellow are the landing flights approaching. And obviously the two white arrows are the direction that it's traveling. These are the runway numbers. One is for going in one direction, one is for coming in the other direction. So then we have to quit. This changes to window or full screen. That removes all of these options for communicating with planes. That changes the connection between this window and the aircraft. This is not very useful, but it shows you what is going on between you and the aircraft. This removes the map. This is the weather. This can move around, and you can resize this if you wanted to. Already explained these. Over here you have the aircraft. This is the runway it's going to land on. This is the spot number. This is, I don't know if it's the time, because it's 8:49 right now. I believe this is going to be the time that it arrives, and 9:20 is going to be the departure time, which means it's going to stay for 31 minutes, and then it's going to take off again. It says Miyazaki, which is probably where it's coming from. And then you've got the heading, the altitude, and you've got the distance. This is 62 nautical miles, the airspeed. The ILS, I think, means that when you land, the pilot is doing it by looking at the lights, the landing lights, or radio. Maybe there's some sort of a radio system when you're landing. I don't remember. The runway he's landing on, and that he's on approach. Over here we have, you can change the camera if you want to a different viewpoint. And you can change if you want the aircraft view or the tower view. For example, this is a tower view, this is the aircraft view. So if I click on an aircraft, it's going to go to that aircraft. And if I click on tower, it's going to show the same aircraft from the tower. So this one's over here. It's showing the aircraft from the tower in the middle of the screen. And when I click on this, it's going to zoom in on the aircraft. And then this lets you zoom in, like so. And then this is obviously for the music, and this is the pause option. I have an aircraft that needs to take off, but I also need to make sure that no one's going to land on 34R. So what you can do is you can click on this plane and it will tell you 34L. You can click on this plane and it will say 34L. You don't have to use the menus over here. In this case, I have a head-on occurrence with these two aircraft. This one on the top and the one on the bottom. And it's almost always because of these blue aircraft. And the reason why is because they can taxi in any direction because they're going to a different terminal. And unfortunately, if you don't pay attention, normally all the aircraft are, in this case, are going south to runway 34R or runway 5. But in his case, he's traveling north, so I had a head-on incident with another aircraft, which was this one right here. So be careful with those blue aircraft and try to get them to wherever they have to go as quickly as possible. I would say, I just watch out for it.